everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a goal-setting system that is so simple it's brilliant. It's the engine behind some of the most successful companies on the planet, from Intel all the way to Google. It's called OKRs, and the whole idea comes from John Doerr's amazing book, Measure What Matters. Look, if you've ever felt like your team is just spinning its wheels, busy but not really getting anywhere, then this is for you. So let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why traditional goal setting is kind of broken. Then we'll unpack the OKR framework itself, what it is, and where it came from. After that, we get to the fun part. It's 4 secret superpowers. Then we'll get practical and walk through exactly how to run your first OKR cycle, and we'll wrap it all up with the core idea, measuring what truly matters. All right, so before we jump into the solution, we've really got to understand the problem. Why is it that so many companies filled with super smart people still struggle to make real meaningful progress? This one hits home for a lot of us, right? It is so easy to fill our days with stuff, meetings, emails, tasks, you name it. We feel productive, we feel busy. But here's the thing, being busy doesn't mean you're making an impact. Without a clear, shared direction, teams just fall out of sync, priorities get all tangled up, and all that hard work, well, it just doesn't add up to those big wins you're chasing. And that is exactly where the OKR framework comes in. This isn't some new age corporate trend. It was born out of Silicon Valley royalty, Andy Grove over at Intel. He came up with this structured way of setting goals. And then John Doerr brought that system to a tiny little startup back in 1999 called Google. And well, the rest is history. So what does OKR even stand for? It's pretty simple. Objectives and key results. Think of it as a super straightforward, collaborative way to set goals. The objective is your what. It's that big, ambitious, inspiring thing you want to achieve. And the key results, that's the how. They're the specific, measurable, can't argue with it metrics that prove you actually did the thing. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Larry Page, one of the co-founders of Google, gives this system massive credit for their insane growth. He said OKRs have helped lead us to 10 times growth many times over. Wow. When a system can do that, you've got to pay attention. You know, the magic is really in understanding the difference between these two parts. Your objective? That's your destination. It's meant to be ambitious, inspirational, something like launch the most loved new product in our industry. The key results, on the other hand, are the mile markers. They're the data. Things like achieve a 4.8-star rating from the first 1,000 users, or secure 5 major media placements. Objectives can last a while, maybe a year, but your key results? Those change every quarter to keep you fast and flexible. All right, so in his book, Doerr lays out these 4 huge benefits of OKRs, and he calls them the 4 secret superpowers. And honestly, it's not an exaggeration. This is what really changes the game for a company. So let's break them down one by one. Okay, superpower number 1, focus and commitment. This is the cure for that busyness trap we talked about. OKRs force you to make tough calls. You can only have a few objectives each quarter, which means you have to decide what is truly important right now. This laser focus gets the entire company's energy pointed in the same direction, making real progress instead of just, staying active. Superpower number 2 is all about aligning and connecting. This is how you fix those confused priorities and disconnected teams. With OKRs, everyone's goals are public. They're transparent. You can literally see how your work connects to your team's goals and how your team's goals connect to the company's big mission. Suddenly, everyone's pulling in the same direction. It's incredibly powerful. And then we have superpower number 3, tracking for accountability. See, OKRs aren't a set it and forget it kind of thing. They're driven by data. You have regular check-ins, you're grading your progress objectively, you always know where you stand. That nagging question, is what I'm doing actually working? It finally has an answer. This creates a culture where people take real ownership of their results. And finally, superpower number 4, which might be my favorite. Stretch for amazing. OKRs give your teams permission to aim higher than they think is possible. By setting these big, ambitious stretch goals, you're pushing people out of their comfort zones and into that space where real innovation happens. It creates a culture where it's okay to try for something huge and maybe fall a little short, because that's where the breakthroughs are hiding. All right, so the why is pretty clear, but what about the how? How do you actually do this? That's where the playbook comes in. Let's walk through the actual steps of getting your first OKR cycle off the ground. So this shows the natural rhythm of an OKR cycle pretty perfectly. Most teams find that a quarterly cadence is the sweet spot. You start the quarter by setting your big picture goals. Then you communicate them so everyone's on the same page. All through the quarter, you're tracking your progress, and at the end, you score your results and reflect on what you learned before you start the whole thing over again. It's a rhythm that keeps everyone focused and agile.
Now, writing good key results, that's a skill, and this slide nails the difference. A bad key result is vague. Improve signups. Okay, by how much? By when? A good key result leaves zero room for doubt. Improve daily signups by 25% by May 1st. It's specific, it's measurable, it's time-bound. See the difference? One is a wish, the other is a plan. So, at the end of the quarter, you've got this little review ritual. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you score your key results on a scale from 0 to 1. Fun fact, for stretch goals, hitting a 0.7 is actually considered a huge success. Second, you self-assess, because the number doesn't tell the whole story. Maybe you hit a 1.0, but the goal was way too easy. Or maybe you only hit 0.6, but it was a heroic effort. And last, and most important, you reflect. What did we learn? That learning is the most valuable thing you get from the whole cycle. So let's bring this all home. The real power of OKRs, it's not just about setting better goals. It's about creating a culture of clarity, of purpose, and of incredible performance. This framework, laid out so well in Measure What Matters, is not just another corporate fad. It's been battle-tested. It's been proven to work at some of the most important organizations in the world, from giants like Google to world-changing nonprofits like the Gates Foundation. It's about a real, fundamental shift in how we think about our work. All right, so if you remember anything from our little chat today, let it be these things. OKRs give you focus, alignment, and accountability. Those superpowers we talked about. They create a direct line between what you do every single day and the company's biggest mission. They build a discipline for achieving amazing results. And best of all, they're a simple tool that anyone can use to go after really ambitious goals. And that really just leaves us with one last question. Deep down, you and your team, you already know what truly matters. The hard part is building the discipline to go after it with everything you've got. So, are you ready to measure it?